All right, everybody, welcome to episode 5 of the Willpower Podcast. Before I introduce my guests, I just want to remind you guys to please don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe down below. Now, with that, I am honored to have one of the greatest minds in basketball, born and raised, humble beginnings in Thunder Bay, Ontario, 1998 OFSA champion, former Division I NCAA player. You played professionally in both Italy and Germany, 2016 National Basketball League champion for the London Lightning, coached in Taiwan, Vietnam, and now Vancouver, 2024 Coach of the Year for the CEBL, head coach of the NGM of the Vancouver Bandits. We have Coach Kyle Julius. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, bro.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
So I want to start off from the beginning. So like I mentioned, humble beginnings in Thunder Bay.
Yep.
You grew up in Hockey Town.
Yeah.
And you actually started out as a hockey player, and then you transitioned to basketball. Can you speak a little bit on maybe how that transition went for you and maybe some influences you had in your life to make that transition?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in a hockey town, in a place, Thunder Bay, amazing town, amazing city, amazing people. In Thunder Bay, some kids are skating before they can walk, literally. And it was a really cool place to grow up. My dad was the Lakehead University women's basketball coach. Wow. And so I kind of grew up in the gym. Hockey was my first love. But as far as transitioning from hockey to basketball, I personally just kind of fell in love with being able to go in the gym by myself and work on my game.
Yep.
And this is way before any social media or YouTube or any of that stuff. So just, going in the gym and just trying things. For me, growing up in Thunder Bay, Lakehead University, the men's team, those guys were my heroes, right? They were my NBA players. And so I'd watch a game and I would see them, do a move or something in a practice, and I would go, practice it myself, kind of like what the Bandits are doing in Vancouver, to be honest, where young kids are coming and experiencing pro basketball and, being energized and being influenced and being excited about the game through that. That happened to me in Thunder Bay through our, U Sports program at Lakehead. And so, it was easy transition. I fell in love with basketball. My dad was a hard worker. The Lakehead University, the culture up there was hardworking players. There was a guy by the name of John LaPlante who was an unbelievable point guard at Lakehead. And when I was, I think, like 7th, 8th grade, he would take me in the gym and we'd do workouts together and really showed me what it was to train. To do 2 and 3 and 4 workouts in a day. In 8th, 9th grade, I was doing that. And I fell in love with that. And my goal when I was in the 9th grade was to get a Division I scholarship. And play on the Canadian national team. Those two things meant everything to me. So my whole kind of high school career, I chased that. Yeah. And I was able to get a scholarship. I don't think there's ever been anyone from Thunder Bay ever get a basketball scholarship since. I don't think. And so that was cool because I had no club basketball there. There was no AAU. There was no scouting services. There was no North Pole hoops. There was nothing. Just back then, you had to actually physically mail VHS tapes. I know these young kids. I tell my kids all the time that you couldn't just click on a link and watch it. Even when I played pro, if I played nowadays, I probably would have had more opportunities and more jobs and probably played longer. But you had to mail CDs. Out to GMs and teams and physically mail them. Hope they got there. Hope they opened them up. Hope they watched them and stuff or go to like what we called back then like exposure camps and stuff like that. But my high school career, I chased a scholarship, and I got that, and then I wanted to play in the Canadian national team, and I did that first summer.
Awesome.
And then when I was playing overseas, I quickly fell in love with the game. And in fact, I tell people all the time, I played for a guy named Neven Spacchia in Italy, Croatian national team coach at the time, and he really introduced me to like 5-out offense, which I had never really seen before growing up. And so I kind of fell in love with tactics and strategy at that time. My dad was a coach. I always wanted to coach, for sure. I grew up in that kind of environment of analyzing the game. But
for sure.
That whole kind of transition, chasing scholarship, national team, playing overseas a little bit, really kind of sparked me and made me want to coach and just be around the game.
Fell in love with it, for sure.
To stay around the game.
What would you say for you, like, what made you a good mentee? Whether it be for Coach Stu, with your dad, the head coach, or with Jean Lapont, you mentioned him being a bit of a mentor role for you. What made you a good mentee? And also, what do you think your dad tried to instill into you as a player?
Yeah, great question. I don't think I was a good mentee, to be honest.
Okay.
I think because I was so competitive and hungry, right? But I think that's what you need at the same time. And I think more than being a good mentee, a lot of young players, even young coaches, they need mentors that are aggressive, right? That are going to tell you what you need to hear, right? Not what you want to hear.
Yep.
I've had that from my father, right? I've had some harsh conversations after games I coached. Why did you do that? Why did you not do that? I had it as a player from him growing up. My mom too, super competitive, again, pushed us and, incredibly supportive. Like my parents, they watch every possession of every game I've ever coached, played. It's amazing. And that is kind of like the influence within itself, right? Like proper support, loving support where the person is telling you the truth no matter what, and supporting you also at the same time. My wife is the same. She might be the most and the toughest of anyone around me. Hard on me, pushes me, tells me the truth. In this process, you make a lot of mistakes coaching and being the GM. It's tough to get everything right. There's so many variables. And so having a support system around you where people tell you the truth, I think that's like the biggest thing. Because, being a mentee, if you're always just constantly listening to people, then you're never making your own mistakes. I think it's super important to make your own mistakes. And that's how you kind of learn who you are, especially as a coach. I think what I love about coaching so much is that I try to be myself. I try to be authentic. And when you do that, you'll push certain people away, certain players away. Of course. But I think as you continue to be truthful to yourself and your process, certain players, certain people will gravitate towards you.
Absolutely.
I think we kind of have that.
Those are the right people that you want to be around you in the first place, right?
What I call kind of like weeding out the weakness.
Yes.
And because I like to think that my culture and my process requires toughness.
For sure.
And I think now this year with the Bandits specifically, we've got a coaching staff that's really tough, a group of guys that's really tough, and we're enjoying it.
Absolutely. And for you, what would you say in your youth? How did you find your drive, and what was your motivation when you were so young, but striving towards these goals so relentlessly?
It was my parents, honestly. My parents worked really hard. My dad was a really good coach. Coaching at Lakehead in those days, it was hard to recruit. Players, because we didn't have a lot of good basketball players in Tampa Bay, so he had to go constantly on the road recruiting, constantly on the phone recruiting, constantly having a player over at our house for dinner, seeing the work, the practice planning, the time and energy put into a practice, watching him in practice, talking to him after, watching him on the bench in his games at a really young age. That was instilling, a work ethic, preparation, being honorable. I used to, as a young player, I would come down to Southern Ontario camps, provincial team camps, all kinds of things, and somebody would always tell me something about my dad being a great guy and a respectable coach, and his teams always play hard. I remember hearing that at a young age, so that instilled a lot in me. And then my mom was just a hard-working, same thing. People would say, "Oh man, your mom is awesome. I met your mom," or somebody that worked for my mom. My mom worked as an executive in a hospital and worked her way up as a nurse, and to the point where she was an executive. And I used to have a summer job at the hospital, and then people would say the same thing. So for me, it was my parents were my role models. My parents were my support system. They pushed us. I have two younger brothers, and we all played sports, and that was kind of like the catalyst. I was very, very fortunate to have. And then I met older players too along the way that would influence you, but definitely my
in your youth, it was your parents for sure. And speak to me a little bit about your routine and the importance of your routine, but specifically as a player.
As a player, yeah. So, I developed a routine at a young age, and I know that's what got me the scholarship. It was in the 9th grade where I basically kind of broke it into 3 things a day. So I would do my workouts in the morning before school, and that would always be ball handling and shooting. And with my dad, not necessarily him with me because they would drop me off at school, but he instilled the basics, right? So basic ball handling, form shooting, I'd get that in the mornings. Then I would go to my practice. I always tried to come early, work on a routine I had, form shooting, ball handling, movement, shooting routine. And then I would always lift weights and play again at night. So I always had like 3 things that I would do basically every day. And then as a high school player, I just was like, you're not going to outwork me. No one's going to outwork me, because I figured that was my only ticket to getting a scholarship. And everywhere I went, I tried to be the hardest working, and I was. And I remember being a Division I player and players coming to me and saying, okay, what are you doing? Let's do what you're doing. Let me do some of that. And kind of like leading guys that way. And when I was a pro, I remember like veteran pros, my rookie year in Italy, veteran pros staying with me later after practice, wanting to stay after practice and do my shooting routine and stuff like that. So it was always about coming early, staying late. It was always about getting something done in the mornings. It was always about lifting weights later in the day, and just competing with myself.
Yeah.
And the next biggest thing to my routine that I tell young players all the time, I tell my guys here all the time, I work with my own kids, is writing things down.
Okay.
I just think that was huge. Like, I kept a journal. It really helps me as a coach, and it really, really helped me as a player. What I tried to do for tomorrow, my goals for tomorrow, I'd write them down. My goals for the next game, I'd write them down. As a coach, you have lots of ideas, lots of things that you need to do, or things you need to say to people that if you don't write down, I think you'll forget.
Yep.
So yeah, at a young age, keeping a journal, you know, and just writing things down, I think was like a key to my kind of success in my routine.
Yeah. I want to take a quick second to thank today's sponsor, Nobody. However, if you're a brand, business, or service, and you want to promote what you have going on my platform, you can send me a message on Instagram at willpower.podcast, or send me an email, which can be found in the description down below. And please enjoy the rest of the show. And growing up in Thunder Bay, I mean, you got cold, brutal winters that can go up to upwards of 8 months out of the year, right?
Yeah.
And you're a basketball player, so for you, you can't necessarily go outside and grab a ball and just start playing. So for you, for the young kid in Thunder Bay that is a hoop lover, but can't go outside a majority of the year to go play, you got to deal with seasonal depression.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that? How did you overcome that in your youth?
Well, I personally was blessed because my dad was a coach, right?
Sure.
So he had the keys to the gym quite often, and I was blessed that way, there's no question. But I tell people all the time, it's one thing to have the gym open for you, it's another thing to go in there and do the work.
Absolutely.
And my dad would bring me, and he would go to his office and, you know, watch film and practice plan. I'd be down there by myself, pushing myself. I learned to push myself.
Yeah.
And I think what I tell kids is there's always a way. And I didn't always have the gym. I would run in the snow. One of those 3 workouts every day, I was finding a way. If I didn't have a gym, I'd be running in the snow.
Yeah.
Doing sprints in the snow, running. I got my friends and the kids I grew up with to tell you, like, no matter what, I would find a way. There's always a way. Is it push-ups or sit-ups in your basement, ball handling in your basement? We had a unfinished basement. I would ball handle in the basement and do a lot of work down there. I tell the kids all the time, I have a routine, like a ball handling routine that in Vancouver, working for the Bandits, we visit a lot of high schools, and I talk to kids about the process of getting to the next level. And these kids playing club basketball nowadays, AAU, I said, while you're waiting for a game, all you need is 10 square feet of space, and you can ball handle. You can ball handle, you can form shoot. So in the hallway before practice, if the gym's not available, in the hallway after practice, once the gym's closed, in the hallway before a club game, you can ball handle. Go in the parking lot, go in your basement, in your laundry room. There's an incredible video out right now.
I've seen it in his garage.
He's in his garage. I mean, if you want to get it done, you'll find a way.
Absolutely.
I used to shovel snow and shoot with gloves on, ball handle with gloves on. There's a way.
Yeah,
There's
true Canadian. I love it.
Yeah.
Now, for you, you made the transition to play professionally, and you got at a young age in your young adulthood to get to travel the world. Speak on the importance of being able to see different cultures, experience different parts of the world, and that reality for you. How important was that for you in your development, not only as a coach and as a player, but as a person?
Yeah, going overseas to play, back then I did not have pros around me to help me.
Yeah.
It's not like it is now with even the ability. I mean, now there's players that I recruit now to play for the Bandits, for example, that have their own YouTube channel, and they're telling you a day in the life in Portugal, a day in the life in Italy. I mean, there was none of that for me. I went over there blind and was really thrown in the fire. But what it did was it truly did open my. I remember being in Italy my first year, looking down at the other team warming up, going, these guys look terrible. And then they would just drag it, like just kill you.
Yeah.
It really opened your eyes to not judging a book by its cover, to being open-minded to the game. The coaches would do things that coaches in North America had never seen them do or say, or, you know, it was just so eye-opening. The same thing happened to me when I played, you know, Division I basketball as well. So yeah, going to a different country, a different level of basketball, not being afraid, being open-minded is amazing. And a lot of what I learned playing professionally those first couple of years back in the early 2000s, I do now as a coach, or I work with my players on. So yeah, it's amazing what you can learn. You never know when you're going to need it or when you're going to use it. In fact, after I played a few years overseas, I got a great job working outside of basketball for a developer in Toronto. And a lot of what I learned on the basketball court, a lot of what I had been through, you know, overseas, help me be, even better in business in this job and be a better, colleague or teammate. Just traveling the world, experiencing different coaching philosophies, styles.
Yeah.
I've seen, before I started coaching, I'd seen it all. I'd seen the Bobby Knights. I'd seen the guys hugging you. I'd seen the guys that don't speak English. You need a translator in the timeout. That whole thing. I'd seen it all. So I think those experiences prepare you for life in general and the next level of basketball.
Absolutely. Now, after your playing career, you then started A Game Hoops, which was a player development business, and you're focusing on all types of skills training with different levels of players, right? But this was your first opportunity, correct me if I'm wrong, but as a mentor.
Sure.
So for you, what was that transition like, being the mentee, being the young guy in the locker room that's kind of figuring things out, to then handing it off to the next generation of players, but also coaches?
Yeah, that was cool. I did that for almost 7 or 8 years.
Yeah.
It just kind of started small. So I finished playing professionally, and I was still working out. In fact, when I finished playing, I was still like in really good shape playing for about 3 years. And I'd be in the gym all the time, and I would just start helping kids. Or just talking to this guy or helping him or whatever the case may be. Because a lot of people did that for me, right?
Yes.
And just to make a long story short, I turned it into a business.
Yep.
And I think I was one of the first, if not only, in Toronto at the time.
For sure.
Like trainers.
Yep.
And we would do some hard workouts. My workouts were boring. They weren't.
I've seen the 520 test or the 250 test.
250.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
They were boring. They were old school. But that's how I grew up on the game.
Yes.
Right? And I had some like pretty big name. I won't use any names.
Sure.
Big name players from Toronto that walk out of some workouts because it just there's too much running or conditioning.
For sure.
My whole
Absolutely.
philosophy on the game was like conditioning.
Yeah,
first.
absolutely.
Conditioning first.
Yep.
Right. And we would do drills if we wanted to make 23s. Instead of catch and shooting 23s, we would do 1 shot per end.
Okay.
Right, and you get your own rebound.
Yeah.
That was a drill. And nowadays, if you did that drill, people would. They'd
walk out the gym.
We would do 5 sets of those.
For sure.
And the more you miss, the more you run.
Yep.
The more you make, the less you run.
Sure.
So now you're not necessarily sprinting, but you're pushing yourself end to end, and you're coming down knowing you got to make this because I don't want to run back to the other end. So we do a lot of stuff like that. And I started to get really good kids in Toronto that wanted to come.
Awesome.
Parents would call, and we had what's one of the coolest things for me right now is coaching Dwayne Notice every day. He was one of the first kids that came, to my workout, and his brother Marcus. And they both played for me last year, and Dwayne this year. That's been awesome. Guys like Kevin Pangos, and just lots of really we had almost 80 kids come through our kind of group that got scholarships. For sure. And there's stories. I drove a kid to Canisius College and got him a scholarship.
Wow.
They didn't know about him, and I drove him and wanted to make sure. I loved it because that for me at the time I kept my competitive juices going, helping these kids get to the next level. In the first 3 or 4 years, I was like working out with them.
Yeah.
So I was still in really good shape, and that was cool. So we called it A Game Hoops. We wanted you to bring your A game every day. Lots of kids got scholarships. Lots of kids played youth sports.
That's awesome.
And I was aggressive. I was hard nosed.
Yeah.
I told them the truth, and a lot of kids didn't like it.
No, of course.
And a lot of kids did. And so to have, for example, Dwayne on my team now, who played amazing last night, hit 8 shots in the game, has been awesome all year. He came through that. It's been really cool.
That's awesome. Now, through that time frame in your life where you started the A game, you accomplished a great achievement in life where you became a father.
Sure.
And I want to know, with all the people listening at home and some of them in this room as well, you're getting to talk to the next generation of fathers and stepfathers. What advice would you give to them?
Oh man, it's tough. I think being a dad is hard, and it's the best at the same time. My son Marcus, he travels with me all the time. He comes to my games. My other son Mateo is not into basketball as much as Marcus, but man, he watches every game, and they're so supportive, and they've been through it. And sometimes being a coach and a dad is tough because there's so many days, man, where I think I probably should have spent a little bit more time with them, right? And the life of a coach is tough. The life of a coach's wife is even harder.
Yep.
The hours that we spend, unfortunately, kind of disconnected. And I think, I told my team this many times. During that season, I put the team many days, before my family, and I hate even saying it, but it happens. I try to be the best father I can be every second I'm with them, and that I'm in that mode, and but even in practice. And what I've kind of boiled it down to is me doing my job at a really high level like my parents did. Is being a great father. It's how I provide this game is how I provide for my family, and doing that to the best of my ability is being a great father. And what I would tell fathers and stepfathers out there is I don't think there's any better way to be a father than to lead by example. And the more I coach, the less important I realize winning is, and the more important the process becomes to me. And in the process, I've learned that's being a father is being a great father while being a great coach is part of the process. And so living the right way, by example, I think is the best thing that we can do for kids, especially young men. I try to do that every day for my kids, for my team. We have fathers on our team. We talk about it all the time. Tomorrow we play Ottawa in a meaningless game, actually, for both teams. They've clinched their playoff spot. We've clinched ours. And I told our guys, look, we're going to play hard as hell tomorrow because we said we were. We said we were going to try and win every game. We said we were going to try and get best record in the league. And I told our players, as a father, I do what I say. And you guys, some of you guys are fathers. You'll probably all be fathers. It's a big deal to me to have kids, to be a coach at the same time, and to try and do this whole thing the right way. It's tough, man. Some days is tough, and I'm not there, and I'm not around. I've turned down jobs recently overseas because I just think right now in my kids' lives, it's better for me to be there. And that's tough to do too, because I do chase this part of the process, to try. I also try as a coach want to get, to the next level.
Of course.
So within that whole thing, I think leading by example, doing what you say, saying what you do, living the right way, taking great care of your wife, your spouse, your girlfriend, putting them first. I mean, the wives in this process, trust me, they're the biggest thing, man. They're the biggest thing. And you guys are young, and when you have wives and important girlfriends, you'll realize that putting them first too is being a great father, right? Showing your kids, your boys, your daughters, that is part of the process. So I'm process oriented, coaching. I'm process oriented. I wasn't at first when I first started. I am now. Way more now, and I think that's part of also being a good dad.
And what do you hope your kids take away from watching you and getting to be around it every day, to see you pursue this dream so relentlessly?
I hope they think, I hope, man, it's tough. You get emotional when you think about it. I hope they say they want to be like me. I hope I hope they respect, the way that I approach the day. I hope they admire it. I hope they're proud of it. And that's all I can ask for. I think about them a lot in the heat of the moment, practice planning in games. You think about your kids, your wife, my parents, this whole process. I hope everybody's proud of the work we do.
And moving on from A-Game Hoops, you then get your first coaching job. So you become the head coach of the Mississauga Power. And when one door closes, another one opens. So you did a great job in your first year, and your reward was getting a good taste of the business of basketball as a coach. And Mississauga Power were actually bought out and became the Raptors 905, so part of the G League team. And I want to know, what was your first reaction to, I guess you're happy for people around you because they get to enjoy the opportunity, but knowing that it's the developmental league for the NBA, they've got a set, timeline, they got an agenda, and you're not part of it.
My first year of coaching, we lost a lot. We were a lower budget team in a really, really good NBL Canada at the time. It was so good back then. It was tough. We played in a conference where there was 4 or 5 of us in that division, and all 4 teams were better than us, on paper. We lost a lot that year. I learned a ton in 1 year. And then I was on vacation in the summer, found out that, that the team got bought out. And I knew I didn't have enough experience to work for the 905s at that time.
Of course.
Only 1 year of real coaching. So I knew I had no job, but I had done well enough to get the opportunity.
Which way I want to touch on that. Absolutely.
The best team in the league.
For sure.
And they offered me a job, and I was super grateful. And my family, we quickly moved. Boys were really young at the time. I think like 4 and 2 maybe. 3-1 or 3-1, I think, at the time. And we moved to London, which was an amazing experience.
For sure, which I want to touch on that absolutely, but I want to know, like, during those couple months between getting that opportunity, was there ever a point in time where you thought about even maybe quitting, or was there something that you were...
While I was the trainer, skill and development for the 8 years in between playing and coaching the Mississauga Power, I also worked for a developer in Toronto.
Okay.
So I did the skill and development on the side.
Okay.
It definitely wasn't enough, money in it at the time.
Yes.
And to be honest, I didn't charge much money at all, if any, because I just love being in the gym with kids. We would do camps. We'd make a little bit of money from the camps and stuff, but I think I was $20 an hour.
Okay.
For a kid to train.
For sure.
Now in Vancouver, there's guys charging $150 an hour. I was like, man. So anyways, to coach the Mississauga Power, I stopped working for the developer.
Yes. So
then I coached that season for the Power, and I lose my job at the end, being bought out.
Yep.
And now I had nothing.
Yes.
So for those like 3 months before I went to London, I did the full-time training.
Okay.
It was hard.
For sure. I can imagine.
It was
absolutely.
What we call manual labor. Like, it was 8 a.m. till like 4 p.m.
For sure.
And then again 6 till 10 at night.
Wow.
To make enough money.
Yeah, and in a way, like, you were so ready to take on this next chapter in your life and become a coach now, which is what you always wanted to do, but then you're kind of brought back to, oh shit, I got to do this again. So then we bounce back and we move on to the London Lightning.
Yeah, so I got a job offer for the London Lightning, which at the time was like the best team in NBL Canada. Man, people don't know, if you look at, we were getting 8,000 fans on a Saturday night in London. The Vito Frigia, the owner, Taylor Brown, the GM/owner at the time, had just really built a monster there. They had sponsorship like crazy. The team was eating every night at a different restaurant. Housing, like, it was really good, and it was a really good experience for me because I was able to now coach a really good team that had resources, and we had our own practice facility. We had everything. It was really good. 2 amazing years coaching, where I think in the 2 years we ended up being like 85-20 in 2 years. We won a championship the second year.
Yes.
We lost Game 7
in the first year
finals. My first year, to a really good Spanish coach who was coaching, Hugo Lopez. He's coached all over the world, very high level coach. He really kicked my butt tactically that series. But we were able to figure it out, come back and win games too. But I was christened, I would say, tactically coaching in that environment. It was man, the players were great. Yeah. Those teams were really, really good, and that was cool for me. And the second year we won a championship.
And coach of the year, can't forget that.
Yeah, I got coach of the year the second year. We were 35-5 in the regular season, and that was against good teams too. And I learned a lot, man, and I got other coaching opportunities from that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I just want to ask you quickly about the London Lightning. After you won the championship, after you win Coach of the Year, do you find that stamp gave you that confidence to be like, you know what, I'm a great coach, I belong here? And do you find that it really got you ready for the next step, or did you already have that confidence prior?
I was a confident guy. I was always confident in my work ethic. I try and instill that in our players too. I don't think it's cocky or arrogant.
You know who you are.
For me, confidence comes from preparation. Yes. Confidence comes from your work ethic. Confidence comes from the work. Had an argument with an owner overseas once. We didn't see eye to eye. He wanted me to play some local players. Yes. One of my jobs, and they didn't do the work. They weren't very good. And he said, well, they'll never get confidence if you don't play them in a game. And I said, that's one way of looking at it. Sure. But I don't look at it like that. For me, if they do the work, come early, stay late, pay the price, pay the cost. They earn it. They'll earn those opportunities, and then they'll be more confident when they get in a game. Because if I put a guy in a game who's not prepared and he makes mistakes and I got to take him out right away, you lose confidence in those situations, right? So for me, confidence comes from preparation and work. And winning a championship that year, Coach of the Year, for me, I try to tell people all the time, you win a championship as a coach, for me, I mean, within hours, you're like, all right, I got to do it again. Yeah. It's not the utopic, fantasy feeling. Anyways, for me, it's not. Sure, fair enough. I want to win for our players. Yes. That's like the biggest thing for me, because I know what I push them through. I know what the standards I hold them to. My family, they want that. But for me personally, it's like, all right, the only thing first thing I think about after the end of the year, whether you win the final game or not, when you're in that last game, He's like, man, those other teams already got a jump on me. They've been out for a couple of weeks. They're already recruiting already. Like last year, we lost the finals, played terrible in the finals last year in the CEBL, and I was the next morning building the roster for next year. I mean, that's just how I am. I do take breaks. I love to travel when I take breaks, but for me, winning a championship is not the number one fantasy. It's not the fantasy feeling that you think it is.
Yeah. Fair. Okay. And after the London Lightning, you move on to the Saigon Heat in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Now, would you say the biggest challenge for you during that time was the a language barrier? Would you, and not only as a coach, but even the day-to-day life?
Well, the story is crazy too. Like, I got the job offer. You know, it was interesting. I told my agent at the time, like, I'm not going to Vietnam to coach basketball. I didn't know anything about Asian basketball in general, and other than I started reading and I found out that, okay, you're not coaching in Vietnam per se. You're in an international league, and you're a team representing Vietnam. And there was a 10-team league, 10 countries: Philippines, China, Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, us.
ABL, correct?
It was called the ABL. And it was at the time, I think it was about 10 years old at the time. It was a really, really interesting opportunity. They offered, you know, a great salary. They offered to put my kids into a really good private school. My wife is Southeast Asian, so I thought immediately, this is like a tremendous opportunity for our family and culturally. And once I learned about the league, I jumped on the opportunity. The challenges were incredible. Like the culture shock to move to Southeast Asia for me was incredible. The noise, the lifestyle, the scooters, the
street lights. There's no street lights.
You name it. It was like, yes, you needed a translator for every time out, every film session, everything, you name it. And so with that being said, it was an incredible cultural experience. And found a way to win there. Both years we had a lot of success. And then
you led a team to its first playoff win.
We had a lot of success. We weren't. It actually kind of reminded me of the Mississauga Power, where we weren't anywhere near the best team, best resources, best local players in that league. The Philippines were really good, Chinese teams were really good, Taiwanese teams were ahead of us. And so we found a way to win there, and that was a really cool experience. And then kind of COVID hit, and then I got the job offer to go to another level higher up in Asian basketball, which was Taiwan. And at the time with COVID, it was a really great experience and opportunity because there wasn't much coaching jobs. You know, the CEBL was just starting in its first year. NBL Canada was kind of dying out, and opportunities around the world were few and far between. So I was blessed and really grateful. For sure. We had a great time and great experience. Spent almost 4 years in Taiwan.
That's awesome. Now, I'll share a bit about myself. So about 6 years ago, I started a not-for-profit. It was like a passion project of mine called Willpower Basketball, and that's where I reached out to you from. And the idea for me was just to promote the importance of mental health for at-risk youth, and specifically in Ottawa. And alongside with that, I ran a Friday night program called Youth Night, and I would get kids ages 13 to 17 to come to my program free of charge, and they play basketball, and they'd be around my mentorship. I'd bring in different guests, photographers, professional players, so on and so forth, and just give them access to, you know, different perspectives of life. And through that, I found my confidence as a coach, as a skills development coach. And I got a very special guest here today. I'll give you 1 sec. I got to introduce you. I got to build it up. So Samuel is 14 years old, works extremely hard, and I made it very clear to him that he doesn't deserve this opportunity to be here, but he earned it. He earned it. And I've been really impressed with you over the last 2 months. So I'm going to let you take over my seat and host the show for a couple questions. And I obviously thank you, Kyle, for allowing me this opportunity to bring in Samuel. So take my seat.
All right, big fella.
Hey, Coach, I'm really excited to meet you. I've been talking about the whole game. So I got a couple questions for you.
Sure.
My first being, how do you teach confidence to a player who struggles with it?
Yeah, great question. Wow, deep question for sure. You know, everybody, Samuel's, definitely struggles with confidence. Even our pros do. And what I talk about is the routine, right? I talk about having a daily routine in which you're constantly trusting that process, right? We say trust the process and trust the plan. So you draw out your plan, you build your routine towards that plan, and every day that you work on your routine, you can grow your confidence and build your confidence. And you have to know that basketball is not a perfect sport, right? You're going to have bad days. And you have to understand that once you have a few bad days, you keep trusting that routine, that plan, and then those bad days become less and less, fewer and farther between, and the good days start to become a little bit more consistent. So for me, the confidence comes from the work. It comes from having a plan. It comes from writing it down. Our players work a lot on their mental skills, right? Breathing, visualization. This is all part of their routines and having a great routine. And then you trust that. And like I was saying earlier, I really truly believe that confidence comes from the work. One of my favorite players of all time, Ray Allen. You look up Ray Allen, you watch some of his YouTube, he talks about his routine and trusting that. And he'll go 0 for 7, 2 or 3 games, bad shooting night, trust the routine, 11 for 12, stuff like that. And the averages balance out. And so, yeah, for me, confidence really comes from the day-to-day work and preparation.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So my second question is, how do you maintain technique while being tired?
Yeah, great question. Well, you know what the quick answer is? Don't get tired. Okay? You can't get tired, so you got to do drills and you got to work on your conditioning every day. When I was in high school, I had a conditioning plan. I would do 20 minutes on the Stairmaster at a super high level. Then I would follow it up with 20 minutes on the treadmill on an incline of like 15%. So I would do 40 minutes of conditioning every single day. I would do the skipping rope for 3 to 5 minutes before every single practice. And then my actual practices and workouts were hard. So I worked on my conditioning. I would run stairs, I would run in the snow, but I had one conditioning workout, one part of every workout every single day was based on conditioning. I used to love the Stairmaster and the treadmill on a 15% incline, because the Stairmaster was good because it wasn't a lot of pounding. So I'd kind of stay on my toes and work through that. So yeah, conditioning every single day, man. And we talk about it all the time. As soon as you get tired, bad things happen. As soon as you get tired, you forget things. As soon as you get tired, you lose control of your emotions. As soon as you get tired, your technique goes. So if you want to keep your technique, don't get tired, man.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Say hi to your mom.
Great questions, man.
Say hi to your mom.
I'm awesome.
Amazing. Good job.
Good job, buddy.
Good. Thank you for that, Coach. And Samuel, this is intimidating to say the least, and you did a great job, so I just want to say I'm proud of you. So let's talk about the current. So now you work for the Vancouver Bandits and the general manager. Before we get into that, I want to know, what's your take on the current culture and state of basketball right now in Canada?
I think it's great. I mean, it's beyond great. You got the MVP of the NBA, a kid from Hamilton. I mean, that speaks volumes. The amount of NBA talent we have.
Yeah.
And then you look at like the talent around the Canadians around the world, playing in really high levels, respectably around the world. You look at the kids playing Division I basketball. You look at the CEBL and you see these U Sports kids that are, coming into CEBL games and contributing at a high level. You got U Sports guys guarding, elite players on the other team. I'd say the game, the state of the game in Canada is as high as it's ever been. I think there's amazing Canadian coaches. I think a lot of the Canadian coaches don't get anywhere near the credit or even respect that they deserve. For example, I think the state of the game is incredible. You look at the CEBL in the summertime, guys want to play in the I think the CEBL is a really good gauge of the level of talent. I mean, we might not have all the Canadian NBA guys, we might not even have all the Canadian EuroLeague guys, but we've got this level of play that is so high in the CEBL, and the Canadians and the Canadian coaches in the CEBL are fantastic. Yeah, I think the state of affairs in Canada with basketball is all-time high.
I think even watching the CBL, like I've been watching it since the start of it, and I see the competitiveness for the Canadian Player of the Year, and there's more and more of an argument year over year of who deserves it, because so many guys are improving year over year.
Great point. Yeah.
I want to talk about the way that you and I kind of connected. So I was on YouTube and I came across this YouTuber who is a trick shotter, a big time YouTuber, and more importantly, he's a professional basketball player. So T-Jass is a player that joined your team. And I mean, Tristan did such an unbelievable job, not only with documenting his experience and his growth as a player through his time with the Bandits, but more importantly, he talked about the importance of you and the integral role you play in building the culture with the Vancouver Bandits. I mean, first of all, how does that feel for you to be able to have that documented and on the internet forever, to see it? Yeah. And secondly, I mean, how cool are you as a dad at home to have your kids be able to see you and you're like, oh, you're on T-Jass's channel. That's crazy, right? So for your kids, how is that for them to see you?
Yeah, it was cool because I didn't know who he was, but my kids did.
Yes, of course.
And once they showed me who he was, okay, I'd seen him online, like
Yeah.
I'd seen him in some stuff, and you know, Dylan, our president, Dylan Kular, is amazing. He's his work ethic and his intelligence and his feel for the game and business. He's really taught me a lot, and he's really kind of spearheaded the whole Bandits organization over the years. And he's a really cool kind of president or boss to have because he also lets me really be me.
Yep.
And the T-Jass conversation came up in our office, and I was like, no way he's going to be good enough to play for us. Like, I'm not doing that. It's not my style. You know, the guys won't respect me or whatever. And then, we thought about it, and, we're trying to grow this business as well, right? The Bandits, I'm also general manager. I wear two hats,
Yep.
right? One is building a team and selling tickets and bringing in sponsorship, and the other is, coaching the team. And so I said, all right, long story short, I said, all right, let's bring him in early for a week.
Yep.
If he can handle my stuff,
Yep.
then, he'll have a chance. Because I said, look, we bring U Sports players in that we don't think are good enough, potentially sometimes. We've given tryouts to other guys who we don't think might make it, or, we want to see them. we get people reaching out to us all the time, and we bring them in for optional workouts early in the season. We do that. So we got on the phone with Tristan, and I said, look, man, like, I'm a dog. This isn't a joke, and I told him specifically, I feed my family with this job. This is life and death to me, man. And I'll come for a week and let's see what happens. I put him through it.
Yeah.
And he came, he was at the same time Tyrese Samuel arrived early. Now you got Tyrese, who's an NBA level player, played at Florida, big time player. And Tyrese is in great shape, especially for a big guy. Tyrese's endurance and toughness and coachability is through the roof. And we put him through it.
Yeah.
And Tristan impressed the heck out of me. Honestly, like his ability to work, his workout, we call it workout endurance, because I know what my workouts are like and how I know when guys break and die at certain times. I mean, he was great. And his skill set was way better than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
And then he's got a competitive fire to him. He's got a toughness to him. Once we got other guys in there and he was going at other guys, there was a practice or a workout where I said, man, like, you can't give up a layup. Just foul the heck out of them. That's what we do here. He was fouling the shit out of everybody for the rest of the day. Like, Mitch, didn't matter. And so he had a toughness to him that I, respect, that resonates with me. So we figured that he would help us push our business. There's no doubt about it.
Sure.
But at the same time, I also am really, really proud of how we operate in Vancouver. We get calls every year from one player on every other team, including the team that beat us in the finals last year. Had an agent reach out to us and said that guy wanted to actually play for us. So every single team in the league has had players reach out to us from the way that we operate on court to off court, and I'm really proud. And I said, if Tristan wants to document all that, we don't have the resources. We don't have a video team to do that every day. I mean, the amount of footage that the reason his videos take so long to release is because he has so much footage to go through, right? And that was also cool to see. Man, we really do spend that much time, on the court or in the weight room or whatever. And so, I figured it would be a great way to tell our story.
For sure.
I'm proud of what we do. It's not about being cocky or arrogant. I'm just really proud of how we operate in Vancouver. And he did that for a month.
Yep.
And it's been really cool.
For sure.
See the episodes come out.
That's awesome.
Yeah, really cool.
I love it.
Yeah.
I'll finish off some quick hitters.
Yeah.
So I want to be mindful of your schedule, of course, so we'll try and keep the answers a little shorter.
Yep.
So the first one, I'll do this one for my mom. She was a big fan of this one. I introduced it to the podcast last episode. So what's your one movie recommendation and one book recommendation you would have for the people watching?
Movie recommendation. Let me think. It's a movie that I would recommend right away. Let me think. I got to think first.
You're good. It's got to be a good one because my mom's watching. So.
Okay, your mom. For your mom, huh? Let me think here. I've seen some bad movies lately.
Fair. Okay. We can come back to it.
We got some movie guys on our team.
Yes.
Dwayne and Kyle have
okay.
their own podcast.
Yeah. So they're judging you.
They critique movies and they're amazing. So I told them, I went to the theater with my kids last couple weeks ago to see Jurassic World 2.
Okay.
Or the second. Yeah, we thought it was terrible.
Okay. So not Jurassic World 2.
Let me just think. A movie recommendation. My son Mateo and I, we like to watch old movies.
Okay.
And what did we just watch recently? It was good. We might have to edit this and shit. What did we watch classic recently? We'll have to come back to it.
Okay, fair enough.
Let's come back.
And do you have a book on the top of your mind?
Recommendation. I'm reading. The book I just read for the second time recently is the story of the All Blacks.
Okay.
Right? The rugby team from New Zealand. Right?
Okay.
And how they build their culture.
That's awesome.
And I think for anybody in sports or anybody in business,
Yes.
or anybody around teams, that the All Blacks is a great book.
Awesome, love it. You studied sociology when you're in school. How much of your studies take a role in your coaching style?
I would say none.
Okay,
I'd say
interesting.
I learned how to coach, through the game.
Yeah, through the experience.
The one thing I'd say my degree taught me was, how to manage time and,
Yep.
and work and get those assignments done on time and
Okay.
and things like that. But yeah, sociology is not, well, it's hard to say because, social studies in general, there's a lot of, one thing I remember from social studies that I said I could actually put into a team atmosphere. I remember learning the term social loafing.
Okay.
And people will gravitate towards what the group does.
Yeah.
And that's a really powerful dynamic when it comes
Interesting.
to managing a team.
Yeah.
If you've got a group of guys that are acting and believe certain things and act in a certain way, you can get guys to kind of just fall into that.
Yeah.
Right? You got a group that's acting this way, the guys can fall into that. So you want to try and bring in guys that
Okay.
are going to pull the group in,
Yeah.
in the right direction.
For sure.
Yeah, like individuals can be pulled by a group, right? And you got to find leaders that are, do their own
The energy
thing.
givers, not the energy takers.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
So I remember that from some of my studies, yeah.
Yeah,
It's a
love
long
it.
time ago, though.
You've actually got an educational goal, so you want to get a master's in leadership and coaching. How important is it for you, someone at your stature and your status and where you are in your life, to not fall into complacency, despite having found success, continuing to strive to improve and find ways to challenge yourself?
Yeah, I think as soon as you think it's easy, or
Yeah.
as soon as you think you've arrived, you haven't.
Yeah.
One of my assistant coaches, Coach Lou, he says, the coach from North Texas used to say, as soon as you think it's easy, it's not. And I think that's a great way to live, man. Like if you stay operating with urgency, you stay following your preparational plan, your routine, like I talked about. I think good things will happen. And if you think that you're good or you know it all, you don't and you won't. And I always want to get better. And my kids right now, they require a lot of time and energy and driving around and stuff like that. But as soon as I feel like I have some time, I definitely like to get back to school.
Cool, love it. This is a selfish one I have to ask you. So when it comes to you hiring your coaching staff, do you focus on relationships that are already established, or do you ever do outreach? And what advice would you give for someone who's either watching at home or sitting on this couch with you that would love to join your staff? What advice would you give to them?
Yeah, definitely don't do the relationship thing.
Okay.
I operate based on a set of criteria, and my coaching staff right now has all kind of met that criteria. For example, Matt Bart, one of our young assistants from Montreal, Matt reached out to me in a certain way, and I hit him with my interview and questions that I asked guys, and he passed with flying colors, and he's been one of the best coaches I've ever worked with, and he's an incredibly bright young mind. He's going to have a great career in coaching. That's one. Coach Lou was introduced to me. I was recruiting in the States. I was watching G League games, and he was working for the Texas Legends, and he was introduced to me through an agent, so not even through a relationship, like a friendship or anything like that. And within an hour, I was like, I got to hire this guy, based on my criteria. Rans Brempong, our lead assistant, is a good friend of mine. We played together, so we had kind of been in the war room together. We'd been in the foxhole together, played on the national team together back in the day. So I guess you could consider that a relationship, but it was more of a trust in his understanding of the game and what he's been through. Tony Scott, one of our coaches, and then we have who again, he's just an incredible human being who I knew through my father and other people, but again, his work and his career had kind of dictated, his amazing career kind of dictated the fact that I wanted him on our staff to work with us. And then we have about 8 to 10 volunteers that I vetted aggressively. We have a great coaching staff, from our strength and conditioning to our mental skills, to our volunteer skill and development guys. They all reached out, and we vetted them all. So I don't do the relationship thing. I'd like to say that we hire, based on performance. Yes. And that kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah. And to finish off, I ask all the questions with all my podcasts. I always like to give my guests the chance to ask me a question. So should you have any, fire away.
Yeah, let me think. Questions.
Sure.
Well, yeah. So, what are your goals with your podcast and the point of this and what you're trying to do?
I mean, for me, it always comes down to helping the next generation. So obviously today was my first time I introduced getting one of my youth coming in to actually get the chance to ask you some questions. It's documenting it and having it available online for the kids to be able to see and have it as a resource. Yeah. For me, I mean, I took a step back from the not-for-profit. And I just wanted to reinvent myself, but still kind of venture off with something that's similar with my skills. Yep. So communication, mentorship, and getting to work with the youth is my passion. Yep. So for me, I guess the goal, truthfully, is just continue with it as long as it's fulfilling. And then if it grows to something, great. If it doesn't, I mean, I get to interview some really cool people and have an excuse to reach out to you with the way that you can come on and I can get to know you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, your authenticity comes across, and kind of the way you reached out to me is the way that I kind of hire people, to be honest. I've had a lot of people reach out, and I feel like if there's a genuine passion and that fire is there that I kind of had, like I mentioned earlier, when I was chasing my scholarship.
Yes.
Or if I can see that in people, and if I can feel that in people, and the way they reach out to me, that kind of interests me, and then I'll follow up. So I've done certain things like this, or hired people just by genuinely reaching out to me. Yeah. Cold calling me because I can feel the passion, and I can with you, Will. So
Thank you.
Yeah, you should be proud of that, because it's special to have true fire and a true passion. And I thought of the movie too. So my son Mateo and I, we love old movies. We love war movies. And just the other day we watched Black Hawk Down. I mean, it's not like it's the most popular movie in the world, but a great movie, true story. If you like war movies, Black Hawk Down is a good one.
So there you go, Mom. So with that, I want to say thank you to Samuel. First of all, you did a great job. Huge thank you for everybody for watching, and most importantly, thank you, Coach, for making time for me to close out the season. You got a game tomorrow, so you're making time for the podcast, for our viewers. I want to say thank you for pushing the game forward. Thank you for the impact you've done on basketball, not only in Canada, but across the world as a player, as a coach, and now obviously as a manager as well. And thank you for being inspiration to me and giving me your time.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So with that, I conclude episode number 5 of the Willpower Podcast. I'll remind everybody to please leave a like, comment, and subscribe down below. And don't forget to follow Kyle Julius and the Vancouver Bandits and watch them win the 2025 CEBL Championship. Right. Thank you, Coach.
All right, man.
Appreciate you.
Man.
Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome.
Did it.
All right, guys. Great.
Woo!
That was smooth.
Thank you.